The world of finance has just been shaken by what Kevin O'Leary just said about XRP. You might want to get ready. He looked right at the camera and said 7 words that shocked everyone in the business. A lot of people don't know what's going to happen. He wasn't making things up either. It wasn't just another quote or conversation to get people to click. At this point, one of the world's most famous investors spoke out about what might be the biggest change in global finance since the internet began. Because XRP has been seen as just another cryptocurrency token for years. Yet, O'Leary just said that XRP is not competing with the other coins in the same way. It's not about making news. It's making the tracks that the next people with money will use. That changes everything. Right now, before we talk about what O'Leary said and why the world's biggest banks are circling XRP like sharks that have just smelt a good deal, now is the time to learn how the top 1% are planning for what's next. You can find out how the richest 1% of people think, plan, and make more money in times like these inside the XRP Millionaire Blueprint Pyro. It has the XRP Millionaire Blueprint, which is a step-by-step guide to crypto positioning that will change your life, and the Millionaire 100x stock formula, which is a full explanation of the high-growth stock strategy that top investors use. There are also weekly XRP reports that are only for you and will make you think, plan, and act like the top 1%. Click on the link at the top of the video description to get to the XRP Millionaire Guide Pyro. It has everything you need. Now let's talk about what's really happening. The crypto market has been crazy for weeks. Bitcoin is going up and down like a yo-yo. The Ethereum network keeps getting backed up. Even stablecoins have been losing their peg for short periods of time. But XRP stood strong in the middle of all that chaos. It wasn't frozen. It did not trip. It did well. Ethereum gas fees went up into the thousands of dollars, and Binance worked hard to keep liquidity stable. But XRP's ledger kept going like a machine. It is quick, effective, and stable. That's what made Kevin O'Leary notice it. You can see that O'Leary isn't a showman. He is very frank. He called out coins that didn't make sense and companies that were made out of thin air for years. His tone was different this time, though. He said that the next few years will be a turning point in the history of money and that XRP is right in the middle of it. He said that prices won't be important in the next 10 years. Getting the tracks will be important. The whole plan for where the smart money is going is in that one sentence. Owning the rails, because the year 2017 is over. Today is the start of a new era in finance, one based on tokenized capital markets. Bonds, commodities, currencies, and stocks are all being rebuilt so that they can move on digital trains. When this change happens on a large scale, the networks that can quickly move trillions of dollars in a safe and legal way will become the most important ones for global liquidity. In that case, XRP fits right in. O'Leary brought up something that not many people are paying attention to. He said that small buyers are still looking for stories. Positions are being built by institutions. To put it simply, the billion-dollar desks are quietly getting ready while everyone else fights on social media. They don't want noise. They are buying buildings and roads. That's where XRP really shines. What's going on behind the scenes is already clear from the numbers. Top XRP wallets, which are connected to platforms, funds, and Ripple-related groups, are not going to sell. They are building up slowly, in peace. Right now, the same thing that happens before every big XRP run is happening again. This is what O'Leary means when he says, you have no idea what's coming. Because the next big crypto move won't be the same as the last one. This won't be a crazy rush of small players after candles. It is going to be a movement of cash. A huge amount of institutional capital is moving from the old structure to the new ones. And the tech behind XRP was made to handle that much. People asked O'Leary which digital assets would do well under institutional control and still be able to withstand regulation. He made it clear, the ones that get along with governments and already have real-world uses. Does that sound like something you know? Because that's what Ripple has been building since the beginning. There were groups that tried to fight regulators, but Ripple worked with them. Others went after hype, but Ripple focused on how it would be used in the real world. Money transfers, payments, and cross-border cash. Now, all the work done over the years is paying off in ways that most buyers can't even imagine. Check out what's going on behind closed doors. Big banks like Visa, PayPal, Fidelity, and even some central banks are laying the groundwork for payment on the blockchain. They aren't trying out ideas anymore. They are putting together systems that make moving money easier, faster, and cheaper than ever before. And XRP's ledger, which was made for that reason, is quickly becoming an important part of the conversation. XRP's story was never meant to be about making quick moves. It has to do with speed. And being efficient isn't just a nice thing in global banking. It's everything. At a large scale, every second saved and every cent cut off a deal adds up to billions of dollars. It gets even better at this point in time. There are signs that interest rates will go down again. The market is getting a lot of liquidity back. Institutions are begging for return, efficiency, and a system that makes it easy for capital to move around. That's exactly what XRP is for. It's not just ready, it's been shown. That's why Kevin O'Leary changed his tone. He's not predicting what will happen. He's talking about a process that's already going on. The financial rails are being rebuilt all the time, and institutions are racing to get a spot on them. Speculation isn't making the next crop of rich people. It's being made by taking control of processes. The record for XRP is one of those. Take a look at this. When the internet first came out, most people were interested in websites, but the people who owned the protocols, the technology that made everything work, were the ones who really got rich. That's what money XRP is turning into. The rules for sending money. Everything will be different once everyone knows that, because stories don't hold water in organizations. They buy buildings and roads. They don't want to be near cash. It's because they want to be close to the trains that can settle trillions. The record for XRP is made to do just that. What's even more interesting is how much O'Leary's message fits with what other well-known people, like Tom Lee and Cathie Wood, have been saying. Lee has been saying that a lot of money will move into digital assets, not as a risk, but as a way to reorganize global finance. Some people, like Cathie Wood, think of stablecoins as the link between the old and new banking worlds. What joins those bridges when they get bigger? This is the technology that can handle a world scale quickly, easily, and legally. That's what XRP does best. At the same time, countries that were against blockchain in the past are now supporting it. New rules are being put in place in the US, Europe, and Asia that will finally separate speculation noise from real infrastructure. Digital goods can now be kept by banks. Securities can be tokenized by broker-dealers. ETFs that are directly linked to digital lines can be used by funds. That is not limitation. It is confirmation. The flood starts as soon as that door is opened. The whole market will change prices overnight once banks understand they can safely move trillions of dollars across blockchain rails. XRP's ledger is one of the few that can handle that kind of demand on a world level. Because success is a must in a world where money moves electronically. It has to be done. Networks must not freeze when markets change. You can't charge $1,000 to send something valuable. It needs to be stable, work well, follow the rules, and be quick. And that's exactly how Ripple built XRP. When O'Leary said, "Most people don't know what's coming," he meant this. He has seen the plans, the pilots, and the testing that is already happening in schools. He is aware that as soon as those systems are turned on, trillions will begin to move in ways that most investors can't even imagine. And when that happens, the assets like XRP that power those moves will not only become more well-known, they will become necessary. This change isn't just about crypto, it's also about who controls the world's money. The banks that own the tracks also own the money flow. That's the real game being played. For those who see it first, there is a chance to get ready before everyone else does. What Kevin O'Leary said wasn't just an opinion, it was a sign that the next step in the history of global banking is already being taken, and that XRP has a much bigger part to play than most people think. It's not price changes on a chart that he's talking about, it's power changes. The ability to quickly send trillions of dollars around the world and keep all of their movements secret. And the old ways of doing business with money, like SWIFT, ACH, FEDWIRE, and correspondent banking, are starting to feel the heat right now. You see, those methods were never meant to handle the speed and volume of today's business. They were made in a time before the internet. It takes days for transactions to clear, and fees keep adding up. This is a huge waste of time when you consider global trade, money transfers, and company settlements. That's where Ripple's plan, which is driven by XRP, comes in. Ripple isn't trying to break down the old system, it's just making it better. The Internet of Value is being built, which means that money can move through it just as quickly as information. This change is linked to O'Leary's warning. In this decade, he said, the real chance won't come from following short-term trends. It will come from knowing which tools will be the building blocks of finance. To that point of view, XRP does everything right. Let's make it easy to understand. A bank in Japan might want to send $100 million to a business partner in Brazil. With traditional rails like SWIFT, that move could take up to 5 days, go through several middlemen, and cost tens of thousands of dollars in transaction fees. With XRP as the bridge currency and Ripple's on-demand liquidity, that same move can happen in seconds for a very small amount of money. There is no waiting, no middleman, and no extra cost. Not only is that convenient, it's also a change. For every bank, payment processor, and government payout system, that's a lot of money. This is how big the project is getting. It's not about making crypto players rich. It's about fixing the way money works around the world. And XRP is the link between all of the world's currencies and networks. That's why O'Leary said most people don't know what's going to happen. The shift is hidden from view until it's already happened. Everything is going on in the background, including the pilots, agreements, and integrations. There are deals between Ripple and big banks, money transfer companies, and other financial institutions in more than 50 countries. They've made roads that link North America, Asia, the Middle East, and Africa. To XRP's place in the system, each corridor adds more value, more use, and more proof. When it comes to time, it couldn't be better. Ripple finally got regulatory clarity after years of regulatory uncertainty. This is something that almost no other crypto company in the US has. It was a big deal when it was decided that XRP isn't a security in aftermarket sales. It got rid of the biggest problem for organizations. All of a sudden, banks, funds, and companies could use XRP without worrying about breaking the law. That decision made it possible for a lot of people to adopt. Ripple has been moving quickly since then. They bought Metaco, which is a top-notch institutional custody platform that helps banks safely store and handle digital assets. They bought G-Treasury, a company that manages business liquidity. This gave Ripple access to the core of global treasury operations. They also added infrastructure for stablecoins, which means that Ripple can now handle all kinds of currencies, from tokenized ones to digital dollars. The only goal of everything being done is to make Ripple and XRP the new banking infrastructure that will support the world economy in the future. Now, if you've been keeping an eye on on-chain data, you'll notice something really cool. This time, big XRP wallets are building up again. These are the wallets that are usually linked to banks or deep liquidity providers. Total network action is going up while exchange balances are going down. That means XRP is leaving platforms and going to cold storage, private custody, or vaults at institutions. That's how smart money usually builds up before demand spikes caused by usefulness. That's where we are now, in the quiet stage. O'Leary called the stage the setup before the flood. It will be too late to change anything once the system goes from being tested to being fully deployed. The devaluation won't happen over time. Big amounts of money will move through these digital rails for the very first time all at once. It's like the early internet. Before there was broadband and social media, companies were quietly putting in fiber optic cables that linked countries and towns. Not many people noticed. After that, everyone was online one day. Money is going through the same thing. Ripple is setting up the wires to make money, and the flow starts right away when the switch is turned on. This is another reason why a lot of big banks are working together behind the scenes. They're not going up against Bitcoin. It's being added in. RippleNet is being used by Visa to build settlement tools. PayPal is working on payments that use the blockchain. Digital currency pilot programs are even being run by central banks. These programs often use technology that links to Ripple's infrastructure in some way. This isn't just a guess either. It's written down. Ripple's technology has already been used in a number of projects involving central banks and digital currencies. Their job is to try and set up tokenized currency systems with the help of the Royal Monetary Authority of Bhutan, the Republic of Palau, and other national banks. The tests being done are not small. They are the first steps toward building a blockchain-based world financial network. When that network goes live, XRP will be able to convert between all currencies. Change dollars to euros or yen to pesos isn't the only thing that gets done. It's about linking whole countries together. At the touch of a button, XRP can immediately connect US dollars, a digital pound, or a CBDC in Africa. The thing that makes it so much better is that's why interest from institutions is rising. Private equity companies, hedge funds, and even sovereign wealth funds are getting ready for this change. They are aware that blockchain is not going to replace the banking system. It is making it better, and XRP is designed to be at the center of that update. Another thing to keep in mind is that Ripple's plan has always been long-term. A lot of projects were focused on short-term gains, but Ripple was talking with regulators, banks, and governments. First, they earned trust, and now it's paying off. The relationships they made years ago are now turning into integrations at the production level. That's why Kevin O'Leary and other big investors are now paying attention. The work on the ground is done. Everything is ready. On top of that, countries are starting to agree on rules. New rules in the US are letting banks hold digital assets directly. In Europe, MiCA rules have made it easy for crypto companies to work together under the same rules. In Asia, places like Singapore, Japan, and the United Arab Emirates are setting up legal sandboxes just for blockchain payments. Global banking is finally lining up with digital infrastructure for the first time, and Ripple is already there, ready to go. That's what most people miss. The institutions are already in place by the time the news talks about mass acceptance. They don't say what they're going to do. They stay out of sight, set up places, test systems, and wait for the right time. That's what's taking place with XRP right now. It's also clear in the way that old banking software is being updated. Treasury management tools, bank settlement engines, and even accounting software are starting to connect to the blockchain. Integrations of Ripple's API and XRP system are showing up in financial tools for businesses. Though modest, it's a big deal. When all of the world's big business systems can move value across Ripple's network, money will automatically start moving digitally. That's when things speed up. When global payment systems, supply chains, and capital markets are all linked by digital rails, money can move freely. The things that used to slow down money are gone. The wastes that cost trillions of dollars every year go away, and the assets, like XRP, that power the new infrastructure become the system's core. O'Leary called it the migration of capital, which is a great way to describe what's going to happen. The world's cash, including bank reserves, business funds, and institutional assets, is getting ready to move to blockchain-based systems that can be programmed. That idea is no longer a theory. It's taking place. And when the change happens all at once, XRP will be one of the few currencies that can handle it. There isn't a crypto boom going on right now. It's a fresh start for money. Change from separate systems to a single digital wealth. The network that Ripple has built is made for this very moment. The goal of every test, partnership, and purchase has been the same: to make the digital backbone of global money. Kevin O'Leary could see what was going to happen. He has seen the white papers and heard the plans that most people will never get to see or hear. That's why his tone was strong. There was no risk in what he said. He was pointing out a chance, the kind that changes whole businesses, and XRP is sitting in that exact spot right now. The infrastructure has been tried, the rails are ready, and the banks are keeping an eye on things. Soon, the flow of money will be different for good. Now let's talk about what comes next. While the tools are being built, the next step, when institutional liquidity starts to move, will make everything different. We'll talk more about what will happen when that liquidity turns on, what Ripple's global network looks like behind the scenes, and why this next phase could change the way people make money for a whole generation. It's very clear what Kevin O'Leary meant when you take a step back and look at the bigger picture. This isn't a story about quick profits or crazy price changes. This is about how the structure of world finance is changing. XRP is one of the few assets that is properly placed in the middle of it all. It won't take long for liquidity to move from old systems to blockchain lines. For now, it will happen slowly, but eventually it will all happen at once. Take a look at how banks work these days. There are many middlemen in corporate funds, cross-border payments, and institutional settlements. Each one takes time and costs money. Inefficiencies like these were seen as normal for decades, but Ripple has already made a method that gets rid of all of those problems. XRP settles deals in seconds for a few hundredths of a cent, and it can handle billions of dollars in liquidity without getting backed up. That amount of trust is what institutions need. There's one thing that O'Leary means when he says that most people don't know what's coming. The public still judges growth by price, but the real change is taking place in the infrastructure. It doesn't matter to institutions whether XRP hits $5, $10, or $50. Their main concern is whether XRP can consistently move trillions of dollars, work with banks, and meet government requirements. That's why there is so much building up going on behind the scenes. Wallets linked to big businesses are getting bigger. The value of exchanges is going down. The coins are being put away in cold places. All of these actions are typical of smart money right before a huge surge in liquidity. The reality stage will be the next step. Once enough money starts to move into systems that use XRP, the value of the asset will not be based on speculation, but on how useful and widely used it is. It's kind of like how TCP and IP built the internet. The first guidelines were not flashy or well-known. They just worked. But as soon as they became very popular, the companies and networks that were built on top of them became very valuable. Because XRP is the protocol for sending money around the world, institutions are now quietly building up their stocks. Early signs of this change can already be seen. Partners in more than 50 countries have joined Ripple's network, RippleNet, which links big banks, payment providers, and businesses. Pilot projects for digital currencies are being run by central banks to see how well XRP can work with their systems. Stablecoin infrastructure is growing, and Ripple is making it possible for payments to be faster, cheaper, and fully compliant. XRP's role as the backbone of the new digital financial ecosystem gets stronger with every corridor, relationship, and integration. O'Leary is making a simple point. The biggest names in finance are quietly building the next system while regular investors look at charts and read stories. They are taking control of the lines that move money around the world. They're not after the hype. They are protecting the structures that will shape how wealth is made for the next 10 years. That's exactly the chance that anyone who knows what's going on has. This is why the next stage of growth won't be like previous crypto booms. There won't be any short-term FOMO or social media hype to drive it. Money will move from one network to another because those networks have been tested, are legal, and can grow. XRP is in a great place to do that. Every factor is in sync. Clear regulations, strong infrastructure, widespread use around the world, and the building up of institutions. These things will bring about a financial change that people will remember for decades. As soon as this much-needed cash comes into the system, it will change how value moves and what assets power that infrastructure. The main thing that will change is that XRP will be at the front. This is why time is important. The systems are being put together already. The relationships are already up and running. The wallets are starting to pile up. The public story will catch up after the fact once the doors are open. That's exactly why O'Leary's warning is so important. Understanding the way the top 1% think is important for anyone who wants to be ready for the next step. Price charts won't lead to the next big wave of wealth. One way to get it is to know where the real money is going, how the financial system is being fixed up, and which assets will power the future of liquidity. The XRP Millionaire Blueprint PRO is your list of things you need to do to get ready for this. You'll find the XRP Millionaire Blueprint inside, which lays out how XRP is being used at the infrastructure level step by step. You will also get the Millionaire 100X stock method, which shows you how the richest 1% think about and invest in high-growth assets. You'll also get weekly updates on XRP that are only available to them. These updates will help you think, plan, and act like the top 1%, able to see market moves before the rest of the world does. Not just the prices, but also the processes that run the market are meant to make sense to you and help you take action. You can get it today by clicking on the link at the top of the video description, because this isn't really about following the hype. The goal is to understand how things are changing right now. You need to know how institutions work, how money moves, and how to set yourself up to gain from the next phase of global finance. XRP is the most important thing here.